Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Hi, I'm Paul. I'll be your host this evening. And what are we going to be talking about? Well, we've got Super Rugby is about to kick off this coming weekend. So we're talking about that. Also, we've got the upcoming Six Nations games. And when I say Super Rugby, I should talk about Super Rugby Pacific and Super Rugby Aupiki as well. At the weekend, I was at the pre-season games for the Chiefs in the Aupiki. They played the Blues and the Waratahs, and in Pacific on the men's side, they played the Blues in a game of 90 minutes, 3/3 of 30 minutes in that one. So, yeah, all fun and games as you try and figure out how to what's going on with those. Don't forget, folks, that you can watch the show at 8 p.m. live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also, you can catch the recordings on all those places from a video point of view. If you want to just listen rather than look, then also we have the podcast on New Zealand Sport Radio. So check that out there as well. Quickly, let's have a look at some of the news items that are going on. Look, Welsh Rugby Union is an absolute mess at the moment. The union still has not agreed with the URC sides as to what their budgets are for next year. Now, most of the business for signing players happens before Christmas. So players who may be looking for new contracts are already nearly 2 months later than they needed to, but than they need to be sort of finalising things. So it's very, very late in the day. Some of these players do not know if they'll be able to afford their mortgage after June. That's the kind of thing that's going on here. We're not talking. It's just obviously you've got the top end players who know they'll be able to get a contract somewhere, or have been on big money, and so therefore should have savings. But it's not those players. It's the younger players or some of the journeyman players who aren't international, who are in a mess for that one. So it's all a bit of a mess, or it's all a very big mess in Wales at the moment. Chris Bailey points out that the Welsh Rugby Union and the IRFU make about the same money, but the IRFU made a 10 million profit, whereas the Welsh Rugby Union lost 6 million. It's a really, as he says, poorly run union. Yes, it's a very poorly run union. To have got to this stage without having agreed stuff with the teams is an absolute disgrace for Welsh Rugby Union. And I'm not surprised the players. There is some talk of the players going on strike ahead of their Six Nations game against England this coming weekend. So in the other interesting rumour, the Wales teams, the Ospreys might join up with Ealing Trailfinders. Interesting one there. And good evening to everyone who's joining us in the live chat, mainly over on YouTube at the moment. Chris Rivers Bailey, Simon Hughes, and Charlie as well there. Good evening to all of you, and great to see you, have you joining us this evening. So real mess, and we'll see what happens there. Let's say we've got the Six Nations coming up this coming weekend with 3 games. I'm trying to remember what they are and what order they are in. Let me just bring up my calendar, which I've put them all into, so that I'm ready for this weekend and can set my alarms for some silly early times. So Italy versus Ireland is on Sunday morning at 3:15 a.m. New Zealand time. Clearly, Ireland will be the favourites in that one. They're looking at continuing their path on the way to a Grand Slam and the championship as well. 2 big games, though. Wales, versus England. So England travelling to Cardiff for that one. Wales obviously had a shocking start to this one. To this tournament. Let's be honest, Gatland's has not created that good feel-good bounce that everyone was hoping, or that Welsh supporters were really hoping that he would be able to do after Wayne Pevak got replaced. England, look, they got the win against Italy last round, but let's be honest, it was not convincing. It was very much a forwards-dominated piece of of that one. And so that's those. So that's the two games and on Sunday with that 5:45 for that second game there. Then on to Monday morning, the really big game of the weekend, France versus Scotland at 4 a.m. France obviously lost last time out to Ireland. Scotland got 2 wins under their belt. That's been against England and against Wales. France will be a massive step up from that. Can Scotland continue their hopes of a Grand Slam away in Paris? For me, I don't think so. This will be the only home win of the weekend. I think Ireland will beat Italy. I think England will beat Wales, who are in a dire strait. I think they'll be able to bully them like they managed to bully Italy, to be honest. Then France versus Scotland. I think Scotland will find France a big step up, and you've got to say that France should win that one. Great to have Shane joining us as well, who's been on the show before. One of our previous contributors. Perhaps we'll try and get him back on the shows now that Super Rugby has kicked off, or is kicking off, shall I say. So that's how I see it panning out. Look, what do I want to see from Ireland? I want to see them actually using someone other than John, and not starting Johnny Sexton and starting another player at 10, probably Burns there. They need to get some depth and some cover for Johnny Sexton heading to the Rugby World Cup in case he get injured. Italy obviously looking at hopefully them progressing again after as they have been. Wales, England, as I say, I'm not expecting that to be a pretty game. I think England will look to dominate them up front. And you're looking for something from Wales to show that they are moving forward or getting used to how Gatland wants them to play. And then France versus Scotland, that should be the cracker of the round. Can Scotland keep it going away in Paris? They have been a bogey team for France, but particularly at Murrayfield, but this time obviously away there. But that's the one I would catch, folks. You're trying to catch one of the 3 games this coming weekend. So that's the Northern Hemisphere side of things. Simon points out that it's apparent that Wasps were looking at using Worcester's old ground in the English Championship rather than using the stadium in Coventry, which would be way too big for a Championship team. Let's be honest with that one. On my own tonight, folks, there's a gap in the sound on the old podcast. That's because I'm taking a little drink to keep the throat nice and moist. Moving on then from that side of things, looking news from a New Zealand point of view, rugby news. Look, Kerwin warns All Blacks coaching saga could cost the team a World Cup. Yes, continuing articles about how they select, how the New Zealand rugby select the next All Blacks coach, and lots of people saying, look, they should name Ian Foster's replacement ahead of time. Look, I was at last weekend. I was at the Chiefs versus the Blues, and Goldie came in the media box to have a quick chat with him ahead of the games. He's like, does Ian Foster want to move on? Suggesting that that it is a possibility of Ian Foster sticking around. Kind of look, if he won the Rugby World Cup, should he be allowed another 4 years? Look, I can't see that happening. There was a bunch of noise that Jamie Joseph was the preferred candidate, but it seems to be going back towards Razor at the moment. What will be interesting is that Scott Robertson apparently has been approached to lead Fiji at the Rugby World Cup, and that would be a really interesting one, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. Simon says, I think it's very unfair to foster this talk about the next All Blacks coach. In my personal, I think this decision should be made after the World Cup. Look, for my mind, you can't leave it until after the World Cup because all the coaches will be tied up by then, will be under contract. They're not all going to wait around, or the coaches aren't going to wait around to see if they get the All Blacks coaching situation. Look, the decision has to be made before the World Cup as to whether Foster stays on or if he's replaced and who it is going to be. Every single other country will be in that situation. No other country will be leaving until after the World Cup to decide who their next coach is. We already know Eddie Jones is going to be for England. We already, for Australia. we know that the England setup is also tied up. The only other real sort of one where you're kind of wondering who is going to be in charge is Scotland, with I think everyone expecting Gregor Townsend to be leaving at the end after the Rugby World Cup. So we'll see what happens with Scotland. I would expect an announcement before the Rugby World Cup if he is going to get replaced. But it does look like he's going to be replaced, even though he has got things heading in the right direction at the moment. So it'll be interesting. Charlie says, All Blacks coach has been a mess. I don't like Foster, but he deserves better than the rubbish New Zealand rugby has done. Totally agree. New Zealand rugby has been an absolute mess. The administration there is messing around, and messing things up. Let's be absolutely blunt about it. The idea that Razor could have taken over is that one. Simon says, I don't think everyone's coach's job is guaranteed. Anyway, especially Eddie Jones, Australia have really bad performances. Look, I think people like Borthwick, Gatland, and Eddie Jones have all got a good reason if they have bad performances. In fact, they've only just arrived and they're trying to turn a team around in less than 12 months for Rugby World Cup. It is a very, very tough task. And they should be given longer than that, to be honest. So anyway, that continues to be in the headlines, and we'll see what happens there. Ex-All Black Cronfield willing to donate brain for CT research. Again, concussion still in the news as well. And it's good that it's still keeping, still getting continued attention, because it really does need. So we do need change. We're still not getting change, are we? Let's be honest. There's a number of people with failing HIAs in games. Is still way, way too high. So yes, so there's all of that going on. I think I'll actually start with a different video. You might have seen on the Raw that Rico Iwani was reportedly going over to Japan after the Rugby World Cup. So we had a chat with him after the Chiefs versus Blues pre-season game at the weekend, and let's hear what he had to say.
What was first sort of hit out? How was it for you guys, for you All Blacks, for you particularly?
Yeah, it was good. I felt like we set a pretty good platform for where we want to start this year. But it was quite easy to do with the amount of experience we had out there, especially in that first half. So definitely proud of our efforts. Obviously, some of the stuff we could have scratched out of our game, but we always sort of expect that first, second game rush. So, but yeah, definitely happy.
Feeling good after an off-season break, coming back, and I guess into it next week. How's the body and everything?
Yeah, body's feeling good. You definitely had a good break, and just sort of coming back in, you don't know what to expect, even though you've been around a bit. But the boys that were training sort of pre and post Christmas have brought that great energy. So it's quite easy to come back in and just slowly find our way into how we fit into this team.
What's the key, Reeks, for you guys as you come in with a very truncated pre-season in terms of time on the field? What's the key to kind of hit the ground running next week?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the boys that have been training have set a pretty good platform, and it's about us, because the boys that have come back in have sort of been around a while, but it's on us to sort of go and do our own stuff behind the scenes to bring up to speed, and it's not for to bring them back down to our level, it's to us to race to the boys that have been in there. So I felt we have done that, but like I said, the first two games is always going to be that bit of rust, and even that out here today. So, but I'm sure that will be sweet going into this first round.
And I don't know if you've seen it, but the Australian media are reporting that you've signed in Japan for next year. Any comment on that?
No, I haven't seen anything. That's news to me.
Really?
Was that before we got on the bus, or?
Yeah, just come out. The Raw website have said that you're signed for the Rico Black Rams for next year.
No, that's news to me.
Is that news to you?
That's news to me, mate.
That's good. Good on you, mate.
Having sort of the extra season with RTS, with those players, has that made it much easier to step back in this year?
Yeah, it is, and I think Roger and I forming quite a nice combo there, and you know we've still got plenty of stuff to work on as a partnership, but you know I'm definitely excited. You know he's got that year under his belt, he's got that year in the All Blacks, and he's hungry and excited to go. So I'm just looking to sort of play my part into unleashing him this year.
It's a massive year. Do you compartmentalise? Do you just keep it all about Blues at the moment, and you know keep that focus tight?
Yeah, 100%. You know you don't want to be one of those All Blacks that are only good when they play for the All Blacks. You know we've got a job to do for our club, and now we're taking each round. So first up land is week by week, because if we don't, then you won't find yourself in France or even on that selection. So you know I'm pretty sure I speak for all of our Blues ABs boys that we're looking to the job for our city first.
Cool. Thanks, mate.
So there you go, Rico. Look, I'll be honest. I thought he was fantastic in that interview. I was expecting him to not be happy fielding that question about his move, about the rumor of him moving to Japan. But I thought he actually handled that extremely well. I spotted that news story in the press room, and that's so basically he was asked for by the other guys just for that one question. So all the rest of it was just padding to wait to ask that question, if we're going to be honest. So that was, I think he probably would be very aware of that as well. So there you go. That's how. So he was a bit, let's be honest, a bit ambushed there with that question. But I thought he handled it very well and didn't throw his toys up the pram or get angry, saying, "Geez, you guys just ask me stupid questions all the time." So I think he was. I was very impressed with how he handled that, and thought, yeah, Rico was fantastic in that interview. One of the things he did sort of talk about there was basically it's not been able to train with the Blues yet, and that is very true for quite a few of the All Blacks players. So they are coming with very little pre-season straight in to Super Rugby. That is normal for them. He'll be kind of used to that by now. But it does mean that some of the teams aren't kind of where they want to be. And let's hear from Clayton McMillan around that kind of stuff after his game, because he wasn't. So yeah, for him, he thinks it might be a bit undercooked coming into this season. By the way, all these interviews are available on our New Zealand Sport Radio Facebook page. That's where I post them. So if you're looking for post-match interviews that I've been doing, do like and follow the New Zealand Sport Radio Facebook page. Here's Clayton McMillan after the pre-season game as well.
3 30-minute periods.
Got a good look at that. There was that first 30 was pretty dusty. I think 30% position, 30% territory. Just can't survive against quality teams with that sort of those sort of numbers. So our set piece was a bit dusty, and that's an area we pride ourselves on. So I had to take some learnings from that and improve pretty quickly. But you know, we scored some nice tries, and at times some of the stuff that we've been working on around our phase play and carry clean games will get quite good. So if we can build on the good things and tidy up the not so good things, then it should be positive.
I think second half, last 40, now, you know, your role with McKenzie and Brody and Samusoni, those guys make a hell of a difference.
Yeah, they did. But I suppose, you know, when you look at the two teams named, I would be saying that the Blues probably put out somewhere close to their strongest team in the first 40 minutes, and we had two teams that were a little bit of a mixture, but I suppose our type 5 had a lot more experience in the first 30 or 40 type 5, and that made a significant difference. So, the big dogs rolled up their sleeves and did some good stuff. Everyone looked like they were blowing, which I guess these new rules are sort of designed to do. You know, keep ball and play and make the game a bit more spectacle. And certainly saw that today.
And guys like Atini and Sean, and I mean, you've got plenty of firepower out wide. Do you feel you're well covered in those bases this year?
Yep. Well, it's been an area, a problematic area for us over the last couple of years. We've chopped and changed, but we really want to have some stability there. And so, you know, Shooter's had a great 6 months, and Italy, I thought has always been a player of immense talent, and it's just about getting his body right. So, you know, those two showed some good stuff. Damien showed some good stuff. Who's family? There's some decent competition in our outside backs, which we want. Yep.
Do you like the idea of Damien kind of roving between those two spots he plays so well?
I just think he puts players on alert, you know, when he's got the ball. And no one really quite knows what's going to happen, but you know, that's part of his attraction, and part of the beauty is that you know, people will sort of sit off him and and then that creates opportunities for other people. But he's also probably a best communicator at fullback, so it's a double-edged sword. You gain something up if he goes to 10, but you also lose a little bit at fullback. That's just good to see him back out there in chest for us.
Everyone emerge unscathed.
I think so. There might be a couple of things, but I don't think there was anything that was overly serious. So hopefully that's the case, and we can have a good week's training and go down there.
I'm happy with some of that sort of, you got Milo and Rona at the back there, so you've got some real depth in that in your backs as well, haven't you? Some new guys.
Yeah, those two guys I thought did really well. Their opportunity has come as a result of Quinn Tupai's injury. We've got to make a choice on which one stays in as a replacement for Quinn long term. So we have to go away and have a good look at the footage, but it's going to be a hard decision. Either way, we're going to be leaving a good player out.
How is Quinn tracking?
He's back running in the last week or so that's looking really positive. But with those sorts of injuries, you've got to take a real conservative route. So I don't anticipate we'll see him this year.
Coaches are never happy, but are you as ready as you can be for week 1?
I thought we were, but I reckon we're a little bit underdone. But there's a week's a long time in this game, and so we'll tidy some things up, and it'll become the guys that end up playing against the Crusaders will get a lot more the sort of the training time, with a lot more focus, and then the guys that miss out will have to do their best to sort of prepare the team. In the pre-season games, it's quite hard. You're trying to juggle 40 or 50 players and give everyone a legitimate opportunity to make that 23. And so hopefully next week we can tidy up those areas.
Just a quick word on Alex Nankerville. I guess he's off to Ireland after the season. He's a hell of a player. He'll be a big loss.
Yeah, he will be. Yep. Yeah, I didn't realise he was only 26. He sort of seems like he's been around a lot longer. He's been knocking on the door, for higher honours. I think for at least the last couple of years, played pretty consistent rugby. Must have gone pretty close, and I guess he's at that age and probably looking at the cattle around the country and thinking, maybe my opportunities might be better overseas. So he goes with our full blessing. He's given everything to the jersey, and while we would have loved to have kept them, it's the nature of the beast.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton. Cheers. Right on.
So there we go. Yeah, Clayton there pointing out that maybe they're a bit undercooked heading into this season, and I guess that's going to be something that obviously he's still a new, relatively inexperienced or new at this level, so still learning about trying to get the team ready for this. I know that Moana Pacifico are trying to have pretty much a match or the first choice 23 out last weekend, rather than, whereas you can see there with the Chiefs, a couple of players were still playing for a contract for the season with that comment there. So pre-season is really kind of different things for different people. Some players are playing for a contract. Some players are playing for just to get themselves warmed up and ready. And other players are trying to get themselves a starting jersey. Other players just trying to get themselves back into rugby after 1 week, heading straight into proper games. So it will be it's different things, different players, as you can see there in that one. Not so much. I wonder how much Macmillan will you have to use Retallick. I suspect getting Sub Rickett is to fill up the gaps. Brody to pace himself this year. Look, the Chiefs have also got Topu Vai. Lachlan McFonnell, who's also a very good lock. Josh Lord to come back from injury. So, look, they've got at least 3 All Blacks locks on their books. So, I'm sure they will be able to rotate and not overplay any of those. As you say, Brody Retallick's main target clearly is the Rugby World Cup this year. Upon which he retires from the All Blacks and from New Zealand Rugby and heads over to Japan, like a lot of other players. That's something that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Something I'll probably not go into now. Simon mentioned in the live chat that Moana Pacifica versus Fiji and Drua will be live on Prime this weekend, kickoff at 4:35. I'm planning to be at that game, providing coverage. So join me probably on Twitter a bit for that, and also. There'll be a post in the New Zealand Sport Radio Facebook page as well, which you can comment on. We can have a chat during the game if you want to. Obviously, I'll be there to do post-match interviews for this show and for the Facebook page on that one. So there we go. those are the couple of interviews I thought were kind of interesting and good to have a listen to, and sort of set in context a little bit how the start of the year is happening. Sorry, Chiefs are not short of locks. I'm guessing Sol Rickett will get plenty of game time. I'm not sure he will actually, but we'll have to see. He's going to have to earn it. Let's be honest. So, how I'm going to preview the season? Well, I thought what I'd do is we'd list out the teams in the order that they finished last year in the table. Have a look at how many players have come in and gone, so we can see how much turnover there is in those ones, in each of those squads, because that will definitely play into how quickly they can get up to speed, etc. I thought then we would give each team expect what they're expecting from the season, or what they're aiming for. So at the end of the year, we can rate them as to at the end of the season. We can rate them as to whether did they succeed, did they have an A+ season or a D season, but have it in reference to what we think their expectations should be heading in there, and then also my prediction as to where they will finish as well on the old ladder. I'm right saying it. Highlanders were rubbish last year. No hiding it. Look, the Highlanders just a team that let's be honest, that don't have the deepest depth. So a few injuries can really knock them out of their stride. So if we start off at the top of the list, the team that finished top and were losing finalists were the Blues last year. But actually, before we get into that, that's one of the things I want to sort of point out before we go into this. If we look at the number of players that have gone out and come in, if we look at the teams there, the Blues had 3 new players, Crusaders got 7, Chiefs 6, Hurricanes 4, and the Highlanders 7. So you're looking at around about sort of 5, I guess, is about the average there, 5 or 6 for the teams in New Zealand. Whereas if you look at Australia, the Brumbies got 9 new players, the Waratahs 11, the Reds 6, the Force 16, a new starting squad, the Rebels 14. That average is sort of closer to 10. So looking like having about nearly twice as many new players across the Australian franchises as compared to the New Zealand ones. And that really, when you talk about continuity, you talk about connectivity, all that stuff that Ben Darwin talked about, it's really tough for teams if you're replacing half your squad, which is what it looks like the Force are effectively doing, to try and have any continuity, to try and build those the combinations so players know what each other's going to be doing. So from that point of view, the New Zealand sides come into this in a stronger position than the Australian teams. A bit of a surprise there to see that the Crusaders have brought in the most players, equal with the Highlanders. The Crusaders traditionally have had the fewest turnover per year. So a bit of a surprise there with the Crusaders. If we head down to the 2 new teams, the Drua and Moana Pacifica. The Drua have brought in 17 players this year, so big turnover there for them. They've brought in the most players out of any franchise in the whole competition. Moana Pacifica have just brought in 1 player. And now he is a key one because that is Miracle Falangi, who has joined from the sort of the combine or the tryout day in the Pacific Islands. So fantastic from him. I've been at some games already for Moana Pacifica, and all the questions are about Miracle. So clearly there's a lot of interest from the island about how well he goes and how he goes in this one. So it'll be real interesting to see how much game time he actually gets. When you see, though, that the Moana Pacifica have lost 11 players, what that includes is players like Joe Royal, Xavier Coley Tuoti, Nico Jones, Josh Kafai, Dwayne Poliativo. Poliativo was only there for a week. So a lot of players there were actually on short-term loans because of all the injuries and COVID and all that kind of stuff. And also having to play sort of 3 games in a week, all that stuff that Moana Pacific had. So whilst they've lost 11 players, if you actually look through that, you think Henry Stowers, who's headed off to Benetton, he'll be a loss. Also, perhaps Solomone Kata, who's headed off to Exeter Chiefs as well. So there's a couple of players there that they will miss. But on the whole, they have retained their squad, which is very good on this one. Some uses I've been able to see at the Drua preseason, but I've seen they've got some winning against the Force and the Rebels. Yes, but the Force and Rebels, let's be honest, are not the strongest teams, and are 2 teams again with 16 changes and 14 changes. Those two, along with the Drua, those are the 3 teams with the most changes in this one. It's those. I'm afraid to say that if you look at the Force, Rebels, and Drua, there's not a lot there that suggests that they will be sort of really progressing on from last year. We'll have to wait and see how they go, obviously. But at the moment, those are the ones that I'm most concerned about, because those are the teams that have had the most turnover in the off season. If we have a look at the teams then, so the Blues finished top of the log. Their pre-season games, they beat the Hurricanes 28-21 and lost the Chiefs 33-47. But as Clayton said there, trying to get all of those teams into all the players into playing during those preseason games, there's only so much you can read from those games. But you've got to say, for the Blues, having finished top, having been finalists, they have got to say that their expectations are to actually win the competition. That at the end of the day, anything short of that is going to be a disappointment for them. I know all teams will come in and go, "Oh, our goal is to win the competition." Blah blah blah. You shouldn't play if you're planning to lose. Yes, there's the kind of talk, and then there's the realistic expectations, and I think the Blues are realistic in being one of the 3 teams that could win this competition. The Crusaders then, I say more changes than they used to. Last year also was a high turnover rate for the Crusaders, and obviously they went on to win it. So it shows you that Scott Robinson can cope with that. Their pre-season, they lost the Highlanders 35-33. And also lost to the Hurricanes 31-26. So not a great start to them for them in pre-season. Again, you've got to wait and see how their first game goes, which is up against the Chiefs. So boy, oh boy, they are kicking it off with a tough one. But you've got to say, as reigning champions, they've got to come in expecting to win the competition as well. For the Chiefs then, 3rd and semi-finalists last year, only 6 changes from last season. And when you think those changes include players like Brady Retallick and Damon McKenzie coming back, it's not a bad actually I should probably let's go back to the Blues, and we should sort of talk about which players they're going to miss. Carl Tuanakafi has headed off to France. Josh Goodhue over to Italy, and Luke Romano has retired, but they have brought in Patrick Tuipulotu, who has returned there. Apart from that, the players that have left, I don't think are any big losses, really. Rob Rush has come in from Northland, but again, he's a youngster. Patrick Tuipulotu, pretty the only real addition to the squad. So very settled squad from last year. I don't think there are any players that are going to particularly miss. Romano's the big one, but as I say, replaced by Tuipulotu. That the locks, perhaps the one area of concern, because again, Josh Goodhue was a very good Super Rugby level player. So to have lost 2 Super Rugby locks, potentially maybe a slight issue there, but otherwise looking good. On to the Crusaders thing. Players who have lost, a couple of players off over to the USA, to Major League Rugby. But then Pablo Matera has lost. Obviously, he will be missed. Bryn Hall has headed up to Japan, and Triple T has also left. So suddenly, but with Willie Hines and Noah Hotham have come in. Willie Hines, obviously an ex-England international, brings in some experience into that area. George Bridge has headed over to France, as has Inga Finau in the backs. But with players like Melanie Nanai coming in, some good replacements there. So I think Willie Hines, Melanie Nanai, two players that you'll to look out for that are new, and a few that I say that they've a couple there that I mentioned there, who I think they'll miss. But on the whole, should be fine. Again, fly half, Simon Hickey has headed back to Japan, and Taha Kamara from Waikato is the third fly half there. So yeah, kind of reliant on Richard Mwanga and Fergus Burke in that 10 jersey, the one area that you might kind of say an injury, and they could feel they could be in the middle of a bit of an issue. On to the Chiefs, and again, a lot of the players gone back to that's kind of been dropped. I mean, it says Hamilton Burr has returned to Waikato, but I saw him running around at the weekend, so he's still part of that wider training squad. He's still part of it. But players they will miss: Mitch Jacobson, who's headed over to the USA, Mitchell Brown, who's headed up to Japan. So perhaps in the back row there. But look, they've still got players like Boshier, Kane, Finau, Luke Jacobson, Simon Parker, Peter Salkula. So I don't think they're going to miss any of those players. Caleb Trask's left, but hey, Damien McKenzie's come back in the for that sort of 10 fullback position. And Chase Tiatia has headed off as well. But you've got Josh Ioane in there. Jonah Lowe has headed down to the Highlanders. But look, with players like Sean Stevenson, Etani Nana Satoro, Nawaya, look, they've got plenty of experience there as well. A bit surprised. I thought that I saw Solomon Alamalo running around for them, but he doesn't seem to be on the list. So again, perhaps another player who is in that wider training squad side of things there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he gets a contract or gets to play much time with the Chiefs. With the Chiefs as well, I think they're looking to win the competition. I think they'll be disappointed with anything less than that. So I think two of those top three teams there are going to be disappointed come the end of the season. But I think those three really are the three that will be bashing it out for this. Heading then across to the top Australian team, which was obviously the Brumbies last year, in fourth place, made the semi-finals. And I think, again, that's semi-finals or final has got to be there, what they're expecting or aiming for, to my mind. I think if they make the semi-finals again, that'll be a successful season for them in that one. 9 new players, key players that have left. Scott Seo headed over to England. Falau Faenga over to the Force as well. The Irani Simone headed over to France, and Tom Banks up to Japan. So some key players there that have left. Jack Debrasini has returned, is having another shot at Super Rugby, having played obviously for the Rebels, the Chiefs, and anyone else? No, that's it. The Rebels and the Chiefs did have a bit of, and also down in Canterbury for the Bunnings NPC. So he's on to his third Super Rugby franchise there, backing up Noah Lolosio in that one. Over from Ireland with Ben O'Donnell in the wing, so it'll be interesting to see how the Irishman goes in that one. Stephen Larkham has come in as head coach, so be interested to see how he comes back into this, and perhaps one of the important signings there for the Brumbies. But semi-finals has got to be their target. Next up, the Hurricanes. Again, only 4 players coming in, so yeah, again, a very settled squad here, but a real problem for them first up with Brett Cameron and Ruben Love, both injured and not heading over to Australia in in this one. With Jackson, Gordon, Bashop having left, that leaves Aidan Morgan really as last man standing for there at number 10. So already they've got a problem, injury problems for the Hurricanes heading into the season. I've also already mentioned Jackson, Gordon, Bashop heading off, Tyring Walden heading over to the USA. But look, they've got Proctor, Balin Sullivan, Peter O'Mang Jensen. That's a problem in the centres there. Wes Hooson, though, will be a loss in the wings. Interesting to see Kini Naholo coming in for his third Super Rugby team. Only played 2 games, one for the Chiefs, one for the Crusaders so far. Obviously, but with players like Josh Morby, Silas Riassi, Julian Severe still around. Daniel Sinkinson also had a good season last year. There's plenty of depth there, but interesting to see if Kini Naholo finally manages to get some game time and actually stay injury free. Blake Gibson said over to Japan. Scott Scrafton off to Italy. So Scrafton there, a good Super Rugby lock. So he will actually be a bit of a loss. Blake Gibson, I think they've got cover plenty in those departments there. And a whole bunch of hookers have left because they had a lot of short-term players last year because of those injuries at hooker. I don't know, like 5th or 6th choice hooker in the end, didn't they? There with that one. So with Amua, Coles and Devery, they've got plenty of cover as long as they can actually stay fit. But look, that continuity in that team has got to be good with only 4 players coming in. But the number of injuries already in that key position of 10 has got to be worrying. And I think really that quarterfinals is again probably about a realistic expectation for them on that one. And so we'll see. Simon says, interesting thing about the Super Rugby Pacific, if we'll have a normal home and away schedule now. No, we won't. We're never going to, because it's just the number of teams and number of weekends and games that would be. So I think we're going to stick around with this format because there's too many games otherwise in that one. Waratahs next up. I'm surprised to see the Waratahs have so much turnover. 20 players leaving, 11 players in. When it's just a young team, I thought they would be a bit more stable than that, and that's got to be a worry for the Waratahs. If we have a look at some of the names that have left, Tom Horton has headed up to Leicester Tigers, but they brought back Tolu Latu in there. Jeff Cridge in the locks has gone over to France, and Max Douglas to Japan. So they got brought in 3 new locks there, 2 from the Shoot Shield plus Teleni Seo from Japan. So you've got to be a bit wondered a bit. So yeah, there's going to be some settling in, I think, in that tight 5 there. At scrum half, they've lost Jack Grant, brought in Harrison Goodard. So there's not much big there. Jamie Roberts has retired. Alex Newsom to France. He will be a loss, as will James Ram to England. But Nemani Nadolo is back in this one. But from Leicester Tigers, the problem is he's 35, and for a winger that's old. So it'll be let's see how well he comes back. But I mean, cracking player in his prime. Let's be honest. For the Waratahs, though, that much turnover. Sure, there's a lot of the side is still around. Hooper will be better rested. Let's hope his mental place, mentally he's in the right place as well. But I think quarterfinals for them is all they can expect for the Waratahs in this one. And why that? Mainly, I'm looking at what the Force Rebels and Drua have done, and that's basically that all the other teams should be expecting to hit the quarterfinals. The Reds, look, just 6 new players. That is fantastic for an Australian team. It's that continuity that the Reds have managed to do. Sure, they've lost one of their props to France, Fuchikaya. Alex Maffey is headed over to the Rebels, the hooker. They've lost Lucan Salakailotto to England. He will be a loss. and Angus Scott Young. But hey, I think they've got enough cover in the Lucies there for that one. So right says no Curtly Beale, I imagine. Yes, I think that's probably very true. I don't see Curtly Beale on the list of players. Hamish Stewart also heading off to the Force will be a loss in the centres. He played quite a bit for them. So a couple of players there. Luke Jones back from France in the locks will be a good addition. But the fact that that they've got that continuity, which means I think this is actually the team that's got the most chance of progressing. Reviewer, which team do you think are being underestimated? Well, I think this is probably the one. They could possibly, I think they could probably go ahead of the Tars. Clearly, a quarterfinal is there. I think they'll be looking for quarterfinal / semi-final. As I've just managed to click the wrong buttons. So again, quarterfinal, semi-final, I think for the Reds is what their expectations should be this year. I think, look, if they lose in the quarterfinals, that's depending on who they get drawn against. That's that they shouldn't get too upset. But I think that's where what. But if they get a good draw against the fourth seed, then I think they're in with a cracking chance of making those semi-finals. The Highlanders. Next up, look again. 7 changes. That's not too many for them. As I said earlier, keeping first choice players fit is going to be important. Freddie Burns coming over from Leicester Tigers. That'll be a really interesting one. The ex-England international there with Mitch Hunt and Marty Banks. So if he gets some game time, that could be cracking. Denny Solomona hasn't stuck around, unfortunately, which so a bit of a shame we're not going to see him with a full pre-season under his belt. But and whilst it says they've got Triple T joining them, he's actually with the Chiefs now because of injury to because Falafel Katawa has come back from injury well, which is quicker than expected, which is good. And also I've gone blah, 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 and then I've gone blank as to who the injured scrum half is for the Chiefs. Who's gone under surgery, so we'll be missing the whole season now. Xavier Gray, which is a real shame for him. Let's be honest. Having not twice, Gilbert is fullback and goal kicker, which is the word that I find to be unlikely. I think. Look, I think within you got your Hunt, Banks, they're all good goal kickers. So I would be surprised to see Sam Gilbert being the goal kicker to be our first. Maybe he's a long range one, but I would not expect him to be the first choice goal kicker. But hey, I could be wrong on that one. I think again that comfortable quarterfinalists because of the Force, Rebels, and Drua there, but their main competition is going to be Moana Pacifica. But I think what we need to remind ourselves is kind of what has happened to why have it's gone? Have I lost my spreadsheet? On that one, Dermody has basically said it. Well, there we go. Gilbert as a fullback and kicker. We'll see. As I say, it surprises me when you got some other very good accomplished kickers there in that one. Looking at last season, where the Highlanders won 4 games out of 14. The Moana Pacifica having just won 2 games. Look, you've got to say that actually the Highlanders do definitely need a better season than last season to secure themselves in that quarterfinal. The Force and Rebels also had 4 wins as well. So it could be tight for the Highlanders, but they shouldn't be making it so tight. Doesn't help that they've got the Blues, Crusaders, and Chiefs all in their kind of side of the draw on that one. There. I think the Rebels will be last when Monaco Drua will be the dark horses into the playoffs and just miss it. Yeah, look, I think for my mind, the Force and Rebels, if they get 9th or 10th, then I think they've had good seasons. I think they're going to struggle personally. I expect Moana to do better than both the Force and the Rebels. Now, am I being overly optimistic when the Moana lost to the Highlanders 33 to 24, and also lost to the Chiefs 7-46, 48? Sorry, maybe, but we'll have to wait and see. With the Drua, look, they'll be looking at just improving on last year, but I think it's going to be hard for them with all those changes. Moana Pacifica, look, quarterfinals is what they're aiming for. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch goal. To be honest, there we'll have to wait and see how they crack on. Look, they allowed 514 points last year. 2 losing bonus points. They're going to have to be a lot more competitive than that and pick up those losing bonus points and make the games tighter. The Highlanders, sure, they won 4 games, but they had losing bonus points in 5 more. So 9 of their 14 games were close. And that's what Moana Pacifica have got to be aspiring to this year. Let's be honest on that one. Simon, when some people call it regional bias, the problem is a lot of Australian preseason matches have been played behind pay-per-view water circuit. Well, that's there. The Moana Pacifica. Let's be honest. I get point out. I thought last year. Look, they put their squad together at late notice because they didn't get the contracts as early as they should have done, and I thought we were going to see a lot of turnover coming into the season. But exactly what we've seen with the Drua, but that hasn't happened. So I've been very surprised by that, and I think that bodes well for Moana Pacifica. We'll see how that pans out. They haven't had the problem that the Drua have had, who have lost one, two, sort of 3 players over to Europe. That hasn't had that problem for Moana Pacifica, which clearly has been good. And whilst Super Rugby is a floor show for Fiji and Thailand for Northern Hemisphere buyers, you've got a couple of players who've actually returned, or Misaki Dodge has returned from the Dragons. And joined the Drua, for example. But most of the players have come from Fiji itself when you look at who has joined them. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they gel and how quickly they're actually able to get that. So I think you need 5 wins to get into the playoffs. Say last year it was 4. So yeah, you're right, it's going to be around that kind of mark. Let's be honest. If you look around and go, okay, where can Moana Pacifica pick up those wins from? Well, they better do that this coming weekend against the Drua, the Force and Rebels. Those are the 3 must-win games. Let's be honest with that. I don't know who their second games are against. So we have a quick look through the Moana Pacifica schedule. It's Drua, which they must win, then the Chiefs, then the Force, must-win game. Brumbies, Hurricanes, Highlanders, they're going to need to get close on that one. Crusaders, Reds, Rebels, must-win. Blues, Hurricanes, Crusaders, the Drua again, another must-win, and then Waratahs. So it's going to be a really it's going to be tough for them to pick up those wins. But hey, they got that one against the Hurricanes last year, didn't they? Perhaps they can get a few shock ones as well. From a prediction point of view, perhaps I'm being a bit biased with the going for the Chiefs to top the table. I think the Brumbies are still going to be in the in the sort of next up. Then the Rebels, happy looking at how they have stayed stable I think the Waratahs might be the ones to just miss out on the perhaps it's Hart overhead, putting in the Moana Pacifica into the playoffs. Force Rebels, Drua, boy oh boy. The Drua have done well in pre-season, so we'll give them the nod over that. And then obviously travelling over to the Force is a double-edged sword. Obviously, everyone has to travel there, so it's easy for them, but they also have to do a lot of travel as well. But I think the Rebels are a bit of a mess. So there you go. Those are my predictions. Chiefs, Blue, Crusaders, Blues, Brumbies, Reds, Hurricanes, Highlanders, Moana Pacifica, Waratahs, Drua, Force, Rebels for me. Coming up then, also we've got the Super Rugby Aupiki, and there are a couple of interviews I did at the weekend that I'd like to play before I disappear off. It was the first time we've had a Super W team play a Super Rugby Aupiki team, so I had a chat with one of the Waratahs players. So let's listen to her. We are at Navigation Homes after the game of three halves, and as more of my papers go flying away in the wind, fun and games it is. Here I am with Leilani, Nathan from the New South Wales Waratahs team on Super W. So very early in your season, I mean, you still got a lot, whereas the Super Rugby Aupiki girls have got their season starts next weekend.
Yeah.
You guys got quite a while to your season starts.
Yeah, I think we have about 6 to 8 weeks of pre-season left, so it's good to get this under the belt. Good experience. It's going to give us confidence going into our comp with such high talent here.
And did we see that in perhaps some of the drop balls and things that you've still got a lot of pre-season to go? Is perhaps a bit rusty to start off with?
Sorry?
If we had a few drop balls and things, you think you're a bit rusty because you've still got 6 weeks of pre-season to go?
Yeah, that comes with the game. You know, we'll pick up our experience here, but it happens during the game. You know.
And this is your first time, or the first time we've seen a Super W team play a Super Rugby Aupiki teams. How do you find the level between the two comps?
Oh, there's obviously a difference. New Zealand girls are so talented. It was good to have a run against them and see where we're at. It would be good to eventually have a Trans-Tasman comp going on with the Australian New Zealand teams just to pick up our talent.
Absolutely agree with that one totally. We want even if it was just a final between the two finalists. But they'll talk about the pace of the game. Do you play a faster game, you think, over there?
Way faster here.
Faster here? Okay.
No, yeah, the offload too with the Chiefs game was really good. Made us have to pick up but way faster here.
Right, and because Super W has been going for quite a few years now, you've also got the Fijian Drua in there as well. It's got 6 teams, so you actually get a few more games in. Are you happy with how it's growing over in Australia?
Yeah, it's definitely growing. Like I said, it'll be good to have a Trans-Tasman going.
Yep.
Just to pick up our level over here in Australia. But yeah.
And just to get more games, so actually a full long season rather than a blink and you miss it season, which it feels like, unfortunately.
Yeah, way shorter over in Australia.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. It's great to see you guys over here and mixing it with the Blues and the Chiefs. So thank you so much for your time, and enjoy your trip back, and good luck with the season.
Thanks for having me. Hope that wasn't too awkward.
And let's have a listen to the Chiefs take break.
Yeah, really good to get a game under our belt and to play 2 different sides was also awesome. Firstly though, just want to acknowledge all the people in New Zealand at the moment and what a tough time people are going through. It's always hard to be in this type of privileged pressure when people are going through that. Me, myself, all my family's in Gisborne, all my partner's family's in Gisborne, and we still haven't been able to talk to them, so heart goes out to everyone.
What did you get out of today's two hit-outs, do you think?
I think all of us are in a better place than we were last year at the same time. So I think the players have gone through the World Cup situation, have come out in a better place, and our starting point's higher than it was last year physically, and I think that's made a difference to the game that we can play for our first pre-season hit-out. So I'm excited about what that will look like in the actual season.
Was it good arm wrestle with the Blues women? Was that what you needed?
100%. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we played under 85 men's team, and that was tough, and the game against the Blues that was tough also, and also the Waratahs, just the speed of the game, they're fit, fast, rapid, so each of those things have brought different things for us to work through.
I feel like there's, undefeated once you've done last year, just a bit of a target on your back this year. You're comfortable with that?
Yeah, I like the target. It forces us to keep pushing new ideas, new ways of thinking, pushing the game forward. And so, the team's all different this year. We've all got different players and different squads, and it's going to be a battle and a challenge. And we know that we've got mahi to do this year with this team.
Tinika Wilson, she stood out a bit today. Did you like what you saw from her? What she brings with that 7 speed?
Oh, she can see the game, and she's got the athleticism with the rugby brain and knowledge to go with it. Her combos with the players, considering like they've just come together, is really awesome. But it's also not just what she brings on the field, but what she brings off it to the culture and the environment. She's an awesome human.
Bunts up there, do you give him a wave, or is he keeping his distance?
Oh, he is definitely. Bunts will be part of our team and our kaupapa forever. We're so proud of what he's done for us and what position he's in now. And so, yeah, we caught up with him before the game, after the game, and we'll continue to stay connected to Bunts. Once you achieve, you always achieve.
Anyone else take your eye today? I mean, your forwards did the job. Backs, played with some good ball. Anyone sort of take your eye?
I think the beauty of our team and the style we're trying to play is it's actually really hard to pick out people in the style we're playing that are standouts. And so, we're looking for that brutality but also that beauty, and I think we're at the starting point of trying to piece that together.
Love it, brutality and beauty.
Yeah.
Is that a bit of a theme, is it?
Yeah.
So you mentioned changes, 9 debutants today. How long is it going to take for your side to really gel, do you think, or how much upside do you see in your side at the moment?
I think that the biggest challenge is the 7 days together before this week. So we've had 7 days pre-season, and then we come together for a 4-day this week. And so, to consider not just our team, but all teams are putting that type of rugby out on the field with that type of pre-season and build-up. I'm real proud of the girls and our coaching staff, management staff, that we've been able to do the work in that period of time and put that out. And so, I think we just have to keep building. This is the nature of the competition we have right now, and we're grateful for that, and we want to move that forward. So the product that we need to produce across all our teams, it's really important that we do a good job of it.
And you're saying you're in a better place than last year. You've got to remember last year you got there was COVID lockdowns. You're all tied down. I think it's in Taupo, all travelling up then to Hamilton for games. Being able to actually play in front of fans and actually sort of be actually at home and in the right environment has that made it so much easier? And well, it's not easy obviously, but so much easier to sort of prepare for this season.
I love this over here. The girls signing signatures with kids. I think that's the cool piece of our game is. We have a community that love women's rugby and have been in love with it for a long time, and so having fans, having media, we didn't even have interviews last year because of COVID.
I was at every game last year.
Only in-game.
Yeah,
in-game interview, but outside of that bubble situation, we'd never have 3 or 4 interviews. So I think we have a platform now where we can grow the game, and this gives us the opportunity.
Thank you. One last thing. Well, I know it's a big change in the during the season last year. The very first game, everyone was very happy that it was just existing. Towards the end, it was much more disappointment at losing and it became much more not about so much about just existing, but about winning and losing. Do you think this year it's going to be much more that kind of attitude that we're not so much thankful that it exists, but really about the winning and being the hyper competitiveness of it?
Oh no, we were pretty competitive last year, and so I think anyone who plays rugby at this level is, we always say winning's a given and wanting to, but that's every team and every player and every coach, and so I don't think, not last year, not this year, there won't be a lack of competitive spirit between all our teams.
Thank you. Look, again, don't get me wrong, I don't think there was lack of competitive spirit last year, but I think interviewing the losing teams after the first round last year, the teams were just happy. There was definitely a positive vibe of those interviews, which disappeared after 3 rounds and became much more like the men's game, where when you interview the losers of a men's Super Rugby game, they're not happy to be there to be interviewed because they're so annoyed having lost. Not they're not angry with the media, but they're angry with themselves, or angry with that they've lost. We got more of that towards the end. It was of the sort of round 3 of Super Rugby Aupiki, whereas in round 1, even the losing teams were happy because it existed. I think perhaps we won't see that quite so much this year. Is the point I was trying to make there. Look, whilst this year, that there aren't the COVID restrictions and the issues around it, still 1 week's preparation before the one pre-season game, 1 week, and then boom, we're into the competition. 5 weeks later, it's over. This entire thing is only 7 weeks long, less than 2 months. It really is a blink and miss it, and to expect to get top level performances, top cohesion from a team with 2 weeks preparation is just unrealistic, to be honest. So I don't want to hear people complaining about the quality of the games, because they just don't have the same resources, the same opportunities to get the quality of the games as high as they should be. Look, the quality of the games will be good. Don't get me wrong. We're talking about Olympic champions. We're talking about World Cup winners here. So there are some very good players on the pitch. I'm talking about the connectivity between those players and how much better they could be if they had an 8 to 10 week preseason, in the same way or an 8 week preseason, in the same way that a Super Rugby Pacific team did. They started their preseason in December, and they're kicking off now at the end of February. So clearly, obviously, had a Christmas and Easter break, and look, the weather and other crap things have been happening in New Zealand have put a dent into that, because of all the weather and disruptions that we're having and stuff. And I do hope everyone is staying safe and is well, who are fans of the show. But so there is definitely a long way to go in this, in improving it, not just in around having more games and having and involving across Tasman style competition. And as all of them have said, that they want more, and this is a starting point still. Finally, let's hear from one of the Blues players, and then to the pre-season games at Navigation Homes with Melanie Phuket. Look, very hot day out there today. A tough day for you guys to kick off your season.
Yeah, it was really hot. It's pretty crazy playing in the summer, but now we loved it, and it's good to just be out playing footy again.
It is absolutely. And what was it like facing the Waratahs, the first team you ever faced it from Super W?
Yeah, it was awesome. Just like not knowing what they're going to bring. Really unpredictable, because we've never played them before, and it's the first chance for us to play girls from overseas. So it was so much fun. Yeah.
So how do you find them compared to the Super Rugby Aupiki teams? Are you at the same level, or?
Yeah, definitely. Like very similar levels. Like it would be great to have a collab with their competition. I think they're really fit and physical, and they're really unpredictable. So they've got a great skill set, which is something that we also play very similar here.
So I'm talking about unpredictable, you on the inside ball, and then also a tap and go. So 2 tries you today. Must be happy with your performance and how you're in your form coming into the season.
Yeah, I think I've just been chipping away in those little things out there, that's all the hard work. But I think the girls up front did a really good job for setting the platform, and then, lucky to cross the white line for the first time this season, so that's good.
And looking forward to actually being able to play at home and not be sort of all in camp down in Rotorua for this new season.
Yeah, I think it will be great. It's been awesome connecting with the club, and I think it'll just be good to have our fans back at home and have our family come and watch us as well. So we're really excited.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think all the fans are. So good luck for the season, and thank you so much for your time.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, sorry folks, got that wrong there. It was I said Rotorua. That one, I think it's Taupo. But anyway. We all make mistakes on the spot. So you get a feel there that all of them talk about a lot of talk there about having more games, expanding it to include Trans Tasman. So we're trying to get that in all the interviews I do, because I think it's good to keep trying to push that and try to get it out there as much as possible and keep the pressure on. Looking at the teams then. In pre-season, the Blues lost the Chiefs 5-12 in their half, so they played a game of 3 halves. The Blues beat Waratahs 12-0. The Chiefs beat the Waratahs 26-0. So Chiefs clearly are going to be the team to beat again. They've won every single game they have ever played. That includes the exhibition game they played with the Blues 2 years ago, every single game last year, including pre-season. And now their preseason, their 2 sort of preseason halves this year as well. So the Chiefs are going to have a target on their back. The Hurricanes beat Mata'atu 45-26. I think Mata'atu are going to struggle again in this one. It's going to be between the Hurricanes and the Blues as to who is going to be that second best team to take on the Chiefs in the final, in my opinion. So really looking forward to it, and they all kicks off this weekend. On Saturday, the the Hurricanes host the Chiefs at 2 p.m. And then Mata'atu host the Blues at 4:45. Both of those on Sky Sports 1 this coming Saturday. I will be, as I've already said, or planning to be, up at Mount Smart for Moana Pacifica as they take on the Fijian Drua. So probably will not be able to watch those games live, unfortunately. But we will be back next week on Monday at 10 p.m. As we talk about all of the game action from the weekend. There'll be Six Nations, there'll be Super Rugby and Super Rugby Pacific and Super Rugby Aupiki. Wow, oh wow, lots and lots to talk about next week. So please do join me at 8 p.m. Here on New Zealand Sport Radio via YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. And don't forget, you can always catch that podcast as, again, New Zealand Sport Radio. Thank you, everyone who's joined me in the live chat. It is always a pleasure to have you with me. And stay safe, everybody, and look forward to talking next week.